Well, good morning. It's Thursday, June 10th, and we are gathered for a morning devotion, and again coming from Hebrews for Everyone by N.T. Wright. And we are chapter 10, verses 32 through 39. But remember the earlier times, when you were first enlightened. You went through great struggles and suffering. Sometimes you were exposed to public reproach and physical abuse. Sometimes you stood alongside people who were being treated in that way. You even shared the suffering of those who were being imprisoned. When people looted your property, you actually welcomed it joyfully because you knew that you had a greater and better possession, a lasting one. So don't throw about your confidence. It carries a great reward. What you need is patience. Then, when you've done what God wants, you will receive the promise. And this is the promise. For in a little while from now, the coming one will come and won't delay. But my righteous one will live by faith, and if he hesitates, my soul will not delight in him. We are not among the hesitators who are destroyed. We are a people of faith, and our lives will be kept safe. The prophet saw his world crumbling all around him. He had watched and prayed and warned the people of what would happen if they didn't turn away from their evil ways. He had hoped that some at least would listen, and that the nation as a whole would gradually be brought back round to hear and obey. He had waited and watched and hoped and feared, because he knew what the result might be if they didn't. And he was right. Here they came now, a great army, enemy, fierce and strong, swift as a leopard, menacing as wolves, laughing at opposition, sweeping all before them. Why didn't God act to stop them? Why did he let wicked pagans like this have their way in a world, worshiping their own military might and scooping up whole nations the way fish are gathered in a net? And so what is this passage about? It's about waiting. It's about we having faith. We have faith that God is going to come again. And the whole book is leading up to this. We know that Jesus is the high priest. We know that the sacrificial system of the first century is obsolete. It doesn't really cover anything. It's not make-believe, but it's at least man-made. We know that Jesus died for us. We know that we should gather and worship. We know that we should be together in community. And now he's saying, when we do, we must wait patiently. One of the big concerns about first century Christians, first century and even half into the second century, was that when was Christ coming back? He had promised to come back and create a new heaven and new earth. When was he coming back? And they waited and they waited and they waited and became impatient. Read it in 2 Thessalonians. The people stood around doing nothing. And Paul says, get up and do something while you're waiting. And he's telling us that same message. The writer of Hebrews is telling us that same message, is that Christ will come again, but be patient and wait. We will all meet the living God sooner or later, but don't force it to happen. Don't be sitting there thinking that God is just going to appear this day so that I don't need to do anything. We need to be a patient people and wait for the coming Christ to come a second time. Be patient, my friends. I know that it's hard. I know we've spent our lives worshiping God and waiting for this second coming. But we are to wait in patience. And there's not a lot we can do about it. This is all on God's timetable. The Hebrew people waited many, many years for the Messiah to come, and some are still waiting to this day for the Messiah to come. We are waiting for Christ to come again. But we are to wait patiently. That is our prayer for patience. Amen.